Okay, I think I'm on. So I apologize for the delay. I got down to my computer, was trying to set some things up on my network at home, and after 15 tries, that didn't work. I was out in the hot garage, and it seems like nobody wants me to do this. Got down, my mic keeps unplugging. I had about 4 programs that needed updates, all of which I was using to do this little bit of a live stream. So it seems like somebody's been working against us. Let me tell you what's been going on a little bit. So the other day, I was going to do a live stream last night. YouTube is just easier. I mean, Rumble, there's a lot of little extra steps. There's some extra cost involved. We've been trying to develop our app, and we just haven't been making much progress on that. It's much more complicated and involved, and we're all volunteers, so we apologize for that. And once we get that app up, we will be able to stream or put audio only podcasts out on about 15 different platforms, like SoundCloud and iTunes. Well, we hope to do Apple podcasts, but Apple was just like a ridiculous company to work with. And we've submitted stuff over and over again. So we've not been successful in doing that. So then I was going to do it yesterday. Then yesterday morning, I opened up my email and found that an update that I did, a midweek update 2 weeks ago, or a week ago today, I had run afoul of the YouTube censors, the tech overlords that control what we can say on YouTube. The problem appeared to be that the bot had picked up a V word that I had used, and they said that I was submitting misinformation regarding proposed treatments for Charlie Vector. So I won't say the word tonight. So you're just going to know, if we're on YouTube, we're not going to be talking about that stuff because it's just not worth losing our access to the sermons that we put up. So I had to research, I had to pull out the quote that I had quoted from, which has been on YouTube for 13 years, from a certain rich billionaire, so that what I had said was nothing was out of context or anything like that. So I had to file an appeal, and I tried to set up things with Rumble last night. It was just too much to do at the last minute. So I thought, well, I'll try to do it tonight. If I'll try to get Rumble set up, but then YouTube wrote to us a few hours ago and said, hey, you know what? You were right. You didn't really do anything, and you didn't submit any misinformation. So your strike has been removed. When they give you a strike, you get a warning. And a warning is you need to be very careful. And we got a warning 3 years ago now, maybe 4 years ago now, and it never goes away. The warning never goes away. So then I've got a strike previously and it lasts for 3 or 4 months. And when you get a strike, you can't post anything. You can't update anything. You can't do a live stream for a week. And if you get a second strike, it's like a month. And if you get a third strike, they take your channel down. So they're watching, and because of what we talk about, it's not that popular. And I'll give you an example of what happened. I did a video for a conference up in Canada, Last Days Bible Conference, and I put it in. I uploaded it to YouTube so they could download it on the other end. By the way, there's a lot of tools that you can use. I use the Firefox browser and a program called Wondershare All My Tube to download videos. You can pretty much grab any video except stuff from Oprah. She seems to have things locked, although she's not doing anything anymore. But when she was active, getting something from Oprah was just absolutely impossible. So I put this in a private section, didn't publish it. And apparently there was something in there. I used a video clip of someone who is fairly well known talking about social credit system. And they said, you get a strike. So I appealed the strike, and they said, yeah, that's not misinformation or anything. That's okay. So I used that clip in another video and got a strike. So I appealed that, and they removed that strike granted the appeal, but because we had posted that video twice, they then went to the reposted video and gave us a strike for that. So I appealed and I said, "Hey, you just granted an appeal yesterday on this other video." And they came back and said, "Oh, no, we shouldn't have. You have a strike." And so the strike stays on for like 3 or 4 months. It's like the sword of Damocles over your head. You know, your tech overlords are letting you know that they're mad at you and they're upset. So we got the appeal granted today. So I decided to stream to YouTube. It's all very complicated. So if you're so if you're commenting too, be careful what you talk about in the comments because YouTube is watching and our moderators know that. So if there's any problems with the sound, you can put it in the comments and I'll try to monitor those while I try to motor through a little bit of a talk about some things. Now, Sunday, what I'm going to do, let me talk about first what I'm going to do on Sunday. So Sunday, we're going to talk again about this male, female, transgender, woke nonsense that's going around. And I have some clips. You've probably seen them if you're out there, but we'll look at some of those clips again. A couple clips that took place at a Senate hearing yesterday between a professor from the University of California, Berkeley Law School. And the University of California Law School, Berkeley Law School, is a very well-respected law school. You know, it's one of the most prestigious law schools in the country, probably in the top 10. And they had a lady, she was being questioned at this hearing about pregnancy and abortion. And she was asked, you know, what's a woman? And she talked about pregnancy-capable people. She's just an absolute lunatic. And she got in a big argument with Senator Josh Hawley, and then also with Senator Hawley from Missouri, and also just Senator John Cornyn from Texas. And she's just a raving lunatic on the issue. And she was accusing Hawley, and I think Cornyn as well, of being transphobic and all this nonsense and causing suicides. So it's a complete mess. So really what I want to talk about today is some things that are happening. I have a few slides that I'm going to try to share. So Biden goes to the Middle East. And the one thing that I want you to remember too is that I have talked, while I'm thinking about it, I have some other things I'm going to talk about Sunday. So I'm going to talk about, now I got to figure out how to share my screen on this just a second. Share screen. Okay. Let me pop up my, there's a lot of things going on, and I probably need to devote a whole update to this just by itself about the World Economic Forum, because the World Economic Forum is becoming incredibly influential. As you know, people immediately, when you talk about it, we've been accused of, oh, that's just a conspiracy theory. How dare you talk about a conspiracy theory? But then you show a quote of Justin Trudeau saying, hey, we need a great reset. This would be a great time for a reset. You can show Klaus Schwab's book, The Great Reset, COVID-19 and the Great Reset. I think he titled that book. And then you also have his book, The Great Narrative. And it's clear that what they're trying to do is they're trying to control the narrative. And so everything that's happening now, it's centering around misinformation and controlling the narrative. But what the World Economic Forum and a lot of other people aligned with them, that would include the UN and their 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. It would include the Saudi 2030 vision. All of these things are interrelated. So there's, the Saudis push ESG, the World Economic Forum pushes ESG. Larry Fink at BlackRock, the biggest investment fund in the world, he pushes ESG, and what it's done is there's a social credit score. So you see this playing out, and we'll talk more about it on Sunday. But you see this playing out in some of the problems they're having in a couple of countries in the world, mainly Sri Lanka and the Netherlands right now, where these sustainable development goals and the ESG scores have caused the governments, and the government in the Netherlands is totally World Economic Forum, Davos oriented. And in Sri Lanka, they adopted these things. In fact, the World Economic Forum put up a uh, article last year about how Sri Lanka, because they were adopting these green policies that the World Economic Forum wanted to put out, was going to be this economic miracle. Well, now if you go to find that article, you won't find that article. But what you'll do, you can go to that page and it says, there's no article here. What are you looking for? But if you copy the URL at the top and you go to a thing called archive.org, and then you take that copied URL, the HTTP, www dot whatever, World Economic Forum, and the page there, and you paste that into the search bar there and hit search, it will pull up all the times that page has been saved. So whenever there's an article that's sort of gone down the memory hole, you can do this with Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter had some things on their website that one of their goals was they wanted to destroy the nuclear family. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's an exact quote. So they want to destroy the nuclear family. Well, a lot of people called them out on it. So guess what? It disappears from the website. But this is a lesson, is that in the days of the internet, nothing is forever. So you can find it at archive.org in a lot of cases. There's some things that aren't archived, but usually you can go and you can find old articles that have disappeared. So you can go find what Black Lives Matter said, and you can find what Davos World Economic Forum said about Sri Lanka. And what they said was Sri Lanka is going to be this wonderful example of everything, because what they did was earlier this year, Sri Lanka came in and they said, we are changing completely to organic farming. Now, we can argue about, what you like about organic farming or not, but one of the things that happened in Sri Lanka, you just can't transition to it immediately. Part of that is because of the way the seeds are genetically modified. They need fertilizer to get their full potential. And what happened in Sri Lanka was the crop yields dropped almost immediately. And Sri Lanka almost overnight went from being a rice exporting country, it's off the coast of India, a rice exporting country to a rice importing country. Food prices went up, caused economic problems, and eventually what happened was the government collapsed, the prime minister has resigned, and I actually have a video, I think, purportedly of the prime minister fleeing with his little drag-along, roller bag onto a ship, and he's now in the Maldives, some islands in the Indian Ocean. And the government has collapsed, and there's riots. It's really bad. Same in the Netherlands. What they've done is they've said, well, you can't use nitrogen, and if you're having too much livestock, you have to cut back, and you got to cut back 30%. Although some farmers, I think I was reading an article today where the farmer said, well, you need to cut back your livestock, your dairy herd by 95%. Well, you can't make money if you do that. And to the elites, they're like, well, if you need food, I mean, who cares what they're doing to the farms? If you need food, just go to the grocery store. But now what they're seeing in the Netherlands already is that there are lots and lots of empty shelves, and this is a major problem. So this all comes from the World Economic Forum. So anybody who says that this is not influential, this is not happening, this is a big deal. So here's an article. I would highly recommend that you go look up this article at sociable.co. And it's an article by Tim Hinchcliffe. It was published. This one was a few months ago. uh, WEF, World Economic Forum, and World Trade Organization push global digital identity of persons and objects. And so what they're doing in the WEF and WTO is they're like merging digital identity. And I talked a little bit on Sunday about an article in the New York Times of all places that talked about the surveillance state that's developed in China. 500 million cameras. In fact, I saw a video today. I'll show you it on Sunday of people rioting in the streets because now they're being denied access. Their assets at banks are being frozen. A lot of times because they've been involved in protests. Their social credit score is not correct. It doesn't allow them to do this. The one example that I used was some people going to a protest. They had to take a train from one city to the other city. And to exit in the other city, you have to show your health passport. If health passport is green, you can leave the train station. But this person on the trip, the positioning and all this stuff that they're pulling off the person's phone, told them this guy's probably going to a protest, and his health pass turned red. He tried to exit at the station. He was arrested, put in jail till they could put him on a train back home. And China's having major problems with you know what, and they're going back into major lockdowns in Shanghai. This is disrupting supply chains and that sort of thing. So, if you're trying to buy a car and some other things, that it's shocking. There's a car dealer over in Dublin, Ohio that I've bought a number of cars from in my life. I was over by there. We don't live there anymore, but I was over by there a week ago and drove by their lot. And this is a huge car lot. There could not have been 10 new cars on the lot. They used to have hundreds of cars. I mean, if you went over there to look for a Prius or a Highlander at this dealer, you would have, just on the lot, you would have 40 options of each of those models. I used to represent one of the largest car dealers in the world. They had thousands of cars on their floor plan. And now you drive by their car lot in the southeast side of Columbus, and you will see the cars are parked all the way along the perimeter of the property because it makes it look like the car lot is full. So this is having a huge impact. The other article is also by Tim Hinchcliffe, and it's called WEF Pushes Digital ID, CDBC, that's CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currencies, ESG, and crackdowns on misinformation in the Future Focus Report. And so you can go to the World Economic Forum website and download this report. It's dozens of pages long. It covers all of these topics, and it lays out what they really want to do. And it's interesting. We talk in Bible prophecy a lot about acceleration of everything. So we have the 2030 goals, but now all of a sudden we have future focus 2025. You're seeing a lot more 2025. And it seems like they're pushing this globalist, one world, digital currency thing. They're accelerating their rollout of this. And I think there was a test case, and they were able to, hey, we can lock down the economy whenever we want. And I think this is coming. And I'm seeing a lot of things about additional lockdowns coming. You need to wear a mask indoors. They're reinstating mask mandates in a number of places. Los Angeles is thinking about doing it for indoor events. And I will tell you that I think this is definitely related to concerns that one party has with what's going to happen with regard to the fall election and how that might change the character of Congress. So I think we're going to see something being done with regard to the election cycle. And remember, Molly Hemingway at The Federalist has a fantastic article. You can look it up under her name, Molly Hemingway, about the 600 agencies that the Biden administration has put in place to take control of the elections, which under our Constitution are really to be controlled by the states. And so this is all unconstitutional, but who cares? And you're not going to get the Attorney General to prosecute it because he doesn't care. So there's a lot going on in this space. And I think this topic alone, this report alone, could easily be a conference presentation. I'll be doing a conference in Canada next April, May, end of April, early May, in Calgary. But right now, it looks like it's going to be virtual because you have to meet certain requirements if you're coming from America to cross the border. If you're Canadian and you haven't met those requirements, you can probably still get in. And you can get in as an American, but you have to show a really good reason. And doing work or speaking at a conference is not a good enough reason, according to the Trudeauites, so the Luddites, the crazy people that are in charge, and so we see these countries like Canada, like the Netherlands, the smaller countries like Sri Lanka. They're like the lab rats for these agenda items. So they roll them out in these smaller countries. But look how quickly it did. So in Canada, when the truckers protested, they locked down, they did all these economic sanctions on the truckers. And the truckers, the bank accounts were frozen and that type of thing. Well, it wasn't a month until after the Canadian government had done that to their own citizens that the U.S. and other countries rolled out sanctions on Russia over the Ukraine thing. And we're still paying the consequences of that. And I'll talk about that just a little bit tonight, probably more on Sunday. But here's another thing. For example, this is an article from Al Akhbar newspaper. Now, Al Akhbar is published in Lebanon. It is effectively a mouthpiece of Hezbollah. And this article is very interesting because, they had that massive port explosion just about 2 years ago, which was attributed to Hezbollah. There was also an assassination of now the former Prime Minister Hariri. He was actually, I don't know if he was the Prime Minister at the time or a former Prime Minister. He was assassinated in a bombing in Beirut, not really too far from where the port explosion occurred, and that's been attributed to some people from Hezbollah. But that happened back about 2004, 2005. I think that happened before the second Lebanon war in 2006 between Israel and Lebanon. So, but what's happening is people want to leave Lebanon. That's having a huge economic impact. And so now here's what the title of this article says. The Lebanese are without passports and speak their mind. They are stuck in the big prison and there is no escape from hell. Lebanon is being a huge, effectively an open air prison. People can't get a passport to leave the country because Lebanon is seeing all of its young people leave. And so they've restricted passports. It's also, I've seen some articles in the Iranian papers where the Iranians are complaining about young people leaving. So you may see passport restrictions put on by the Iranian government as well. So let me... Okay, so here's an example. This is that article about Sri Lanka that I was just talking about. No, I made up a slide for it. So if you type in this URL and you go there, it says, sorry, we can't find the page you're looking for. It just doesn't exist. The report by the Sri Lankan Prime Minister, who's now fled to the Maldives. But if you go back with archive.org, you will find this article. Sri Lanka Prime Minister, this is how I will make my country rich by 2025. That was written in August of 2018, and now the country is in total, complete meltdown. So let me. Oh, well, I'll just go ahead and do this now that I'm thinking about it since a slide came up. So this is from the Daily Telegraph and the Times of London. The Church of England was asked a question. They had sort of a dialogue, and they said, well, this is what they said in response to the question. The Church of England has said that there is no official definition of a woman. In a written reply to a question submitted to the General Synod, a senior bishop said that although the meaning of the word woman was previously thought to be self-evident, additional care was now needed. So what does this tell you? The Church of England has, at least at the upper echelons, has gone woke. This is part of this final days of apostasy that we were warned about in the New Testament. This from the one of the articles. The Reverend Angela Berners Wilson, England's first woman priest, said that she was not totally happy with the answer, but added that the issue was sensitive. Maya Forstater, and I don't even know if Maya Forstater is a Christian. She had tweeted some things and responded on social media about her concerns about this whole transgender agenda. And she was fired from her job, but then she got her job back after a couple of years of appeals. Like, her life has effectively been ruined because she told the truth. So the Maya Forstater, executive director of the Sex Matters campaign group, described the bishop's answer as shocking, saying that the concepts of male and female did not need to have a formal definition because they are older than human life itself. And we know even in the New Testament it says Jesus created them male and female. When the government redefined women through the Gender Recognition Act, the Church of England could have stuck with its long-established understanding, which makes sense whether your starting point is biology or the Bible. It is shocking that they so readily gave up the definition of man or woman for the state to amend as if this fundamental truth did not matter. And it's true. So they've had, now the LGBTQ plus IA plus minus number sign, ampersand, whatever, has gotten involved. And if you give an answer to this, you are, you're not, you're transphobic, you're homophobic, and all this other stuff comes up. And even if you gave a answer where you tried to be sensitive, so the gay rights campaigner said this, the query was a prime example of a passive-aggressive question that is designed to upset the LGBT plus QIA, whatever, all the letters there, the alphabet soup they use now. It's time these anti-LGBT attacks stopped. And this is exactly what happened in Congress the other day between this law professor from Cal Berkeley and Senators Hawley and Cornyn. It's just totally out of control. So let me just do a quick thing on the Middle East, because there's been a couple of things there that I think are very important that happened just today, the last 2 days. So Biden arrived in the Middle East for meetings with Israel. And from Israel, he's supposed to meet with the boss. I hear he's going to the Mount of Olives without an Israeli government representative. This is a direct slap in the face of the Israelis. So he's going to East Jerusalem to make a point. And part of that is because this has been a longstanding thing of what I would call the Obama 1, Obama 2, and now the Biden administration, that they really are not on Israel's side. They will act like they are. You'll see the huggy, the fist bumps and all this stuff that's going on. But this is just, they are not pro-Israel. This has been a long-standing thing. So there's a lot of, and so there's concern. So let me see. I have an article here I got from Israel Hayom. Before President Biden arrives in Bethlehem, the Palestinians are trying to close gaps with the Americans and reach agreements on a number of issues. There's disagreement between the parties regarding the wording of the joint statement that will be issued at the end of the meeting between Biden and Palestinian Authority Chairman Abu Mazen, that's his real name, but also known as Mahmoud Abbas, on Friday. A senior Palestinian official told Israel Today, or Israel Hayom, that the Palestinians had asked the Americans to include a statement and an American commitment to open a consulate in East Jerusalem, along with removing the PLO from the list of terrorist organizations and opening PLO offices in Washington. We want it to be clearly worded with a formal commitment to actual implementation and schedule. So far, there is no agreement. And the Palestinians are having a lot of trouble with the other Arabs because the other Arabs are just saying, we send you all this money, we're not getting anything for it. They will still publicly say they want a two-state solution, but we don't know how this is going to play out. There's a lot of moving parts right now that's happening. So there is this Biden administration is doing what I think what we've long said they would do. They would divide Jerusalem. I could go back. I have access to it. December 25th or 26th, 2016. This was after the election where Trump won. The Obama administration did not veto Resolution 2334, which was really bad news for Israel. Nothing's changed under the now the third Obama administration or the Biden administration. They're doing other things too. I don't have, we've played this. I'm not sure what that is. We talked about this drilling and all the stuff that's going on in the East Med. So understand that in this Lebanese maritime border dispute is really a dispute between Hezbollah and its Iranian overlord and Israel. And what the U.S. has done is the U.S. could not come in because Hezbollah is a terrorist organization, could not come in and give money directly to Hezbollah. That would be against the law. That could probably be stopped. But what they can do is they can kind of do it indirectly. So they've been involved in this border dispute in the Eastern Mediterranean as to what land should be given or to what regions of the ocean should be given where Lebanon, if they ever can raise the money to do it, would go drill. But now that Israel's found gas there, now the Lebanese are saying their border is much different. And the U.S. is involved. They've sort of limited the way Israel can get gas to Europe. They've shut down the pipeline. That was a U.S. project by a guy named Amos Hochstein. And now they will use that border dispute to try to get some money right now to Lebanon. And if it goes to Lebanon, it goes to Hezbollah. So today, at a signing ceremony, Lapid and Biden signed the Jerusalem Declaration. There's a picture of their signatures on the document, July 14th. And then here is the White House website thing that's talking about this. Just a couple of things. Now, in the Jerusalem Declaration, they say the U.S. will not allow Iran to get a nuclear bomb. But at the same time, we're in negotiations with Iran. Those negotiations are not going well. The Iranians see that there's a particular opportunity, and so they're doing things. For example, they're very clever. They're very good negotiators. So just before Biden gets to the Middle East, a Iranian 747 flies from Tehran to Damascus, right about here. And it's probably loaded with all sorts of things. And they did that because they know that Israel, with Biden coming in a day or two, they're not going to do anything about it. And so this is the way the Iranians do this. They take advantage. They never miss an opportunity to take advantage of the situation because they knew Israel would not take out this plane full of technical equipment. So that's going on. The other thing in the Jerusalem Declaration is that within the Jerusalem Declaration is a commitment of the United States to a two-state solution. Now, this has been true of the United States administrations for a long time, and we have to be honest. We have to admit that even the Trump plan would have divided, maybe not Jerusalem, they would have provided for a two-state solution, which is not really a two-state solution because there's already Jordan, which is 80% Palestinian, as they use that term. There's Gaza, which is 100% Palestinian Arab. So now they want to create a third state in the area that they improperly call the West Bank. That's really Judea and Samaria. And this is a problem because I think whenever we mess around dividing land, things do not go very well for us. So we'll talk more about this on Sunday, but a lot of important things happening with Biden's visit to the Middle East. He has not performed well. And I really don't know. I don't know how to, I don't even know how to pray in this situation because he's a disaster. But then I'm seeing every time she's interviewed, the vice president engages in these crazy word association games that make absolutely no sense. It's unbelievable. I mean, I'll play a clip on Sunday. It's unbelievable. It just doesn't make any sense. And so if Biden goes, she's president unless somebody does something to get rid of her. So this is highly problematic. Talk more about that on Sunday. And here's kind of the other big deal thing that's happening this week. It's about 3 parts. So this is Iranian newspaper and the New York Times the other day talking about next week. They will have a summit in Tehran, and that will be Russia with Putin. Iran will host it with Raisi. I'm sure they'll visit the supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, and also President Erdogan of Turkey. Now, this has prophetic significance to it because we're looking at this Russian, Iranian, Turkish alliance. Now, exactly when this comes forward and when the Ezekiel 38-39 war happens is a subject of much discussion within the eschatological, the futurist community. Some of us put it later. Some say it's the same thing as Armageddon. I think it's a precursor to Armageddon, but it's probably later in this last period of time. Some put it 3.5 years before the beginning of the 70th week and after the rapture. And I'm not sure that that's correct, but we'll see how it works out. I don't know that given the way the war has gone for Russia and they're sort of depleting their troops and equipment and they can't get them replaced, but neither can the Ukrainians, that they have the capacity to go invade Israel right now. Iran has a lot of other problems. So I think for the time being, we're going to see this sort of undeclared war between Israel and Iran. And there's going to be assassinations, there's going to be attacks, there's going to be all of these things. So that this summit is to be next week. Now, the New York Times couches it in, well, Putin needs allies. Russia's making plenty of money from their gas and everything, and they're shutting down Nord Stream, I think today, for at least 10 days. So no gas to Germany and Europe through Nord Stream, which is the main route. They say it's for maintenance, but I think Germany and Europe is very concerned about whether it will resume. And Europe is Europe is in major economic crisis. The world is in major economic crisis. China's in major economic crisis. The U.S. is in major economic crisis. It is a very, excuse me, very difficult world out there at the moment. But now, so there's this alliance that they're strengthening. They already have an alliance, but they're strengthening it a bit. And then this is a report. This is from Daily Sabah, and Sabah is a. So this is sort of you have the meeting. Here's the second aspect: is that this is how Turkey is pushing it. Is that the four-way grain talks due in Istanbul as Turkey says it's time to act. Military delegations from Turkey, Russia, and Ukraine will meet with the UN delegation. So to talk about getting grain out of Ukraine. It's going to be very difficult. It's not going to happen overnight. The question is how many mines have been laid, or were any mines laid in the Ukrainian port. And I can't remember the name right of it now. It's in Odessa. The port that's the main port that grain exited Ukraine. It's been mined, or they said it was mined. And once they say it's mined, everybody treats it like it's mined, so nobody uses it and no grain gets out of there. Russia is trying to work with Turkey to allow grain shipments to pass through the Bosporus and the Dardanelles. Bosporus is a narrow channel. The Dardanelles is actually, in some points, even less than half a mile wide, that control the shipping in and out of the Black Sea. And under a treaty called the Montreux Treaty, Turkey has control over that. They can, although Russia can do some things to keep military vessels from other countries transiting through the Dardanelles and the Bosporus into the Black Sea. But Turkey sees this as a place that Turkey can wield power, and Turkey probably wants to make some money off it since they're in a major economic crisis as well, and Erdogan's up. So now the other thing that's associated with this, a couple things that are kind of related. The first thing is that Russia had a rail transit of cargo to India through Iran. This is another sort of alternative to going through the Black Sea is, okay, well, we'll just send it by rail all the way to India. And this is the first time this has happened. And this is another kind of big deal, too, in this whole thing. The other report that's coming out is that because Russia needs military equipment and Iran needs cash, there have been about 2 to 3 dozen cargo airline flights from Iran to Russia. Now, when questioned about this is the Iranian Foreign Minister Hassan Amir Abdulhayan, or whatever his name is. We'll just call him the foreign minister. He said, well, I'm not sure what we're shipping up there, but I'm pretty sure it's not drones. But he was very vague in his response. And Iran has said, well, we don't really want to do that because we don't really support the war in Ukraine because that's not a good war. So that's some of the things that are going on. I'm going to check. I'm going to exit out of here. I'm going to go over here to my live chat and see if we have any questions. Somebody said they need to watch Turkey. I agree that Turkey is a very important thing to watch. So I'm going to hang on here for, somebody says in all caps, Biden has signed papers in Jerusalem. They did sign that today. We'll show you some video of that on Sunday. And let's see. Well, the world is in just, look, I don't know how to say it. I think that Uh, I get accused of being too negative. So I'll put it this way: I'm positive that the world is falling apart, and or falling into place, depending on how you want to do that. So it's an exciting time to be alive. It was a strange week for me. I went down to my office of 20 years and kind of cleaned out my my office, and so I don't have a official law office right at the moment. So it's let's see here. I'm trying to figure out how I don't know how to exit out of these things now that I got them up. So if you see your name up there, it's not impossible. So somebody asked this question: what do I think about the nuclear commercials? In case you don't know that, Tammy asked the question. Look, they did a public service announcement in New York saying that in the event of a nuclear attack, go home and take a shower and don't go outside because it might be dangerous. It's similar to what we were told when I was a kid. We used to have these drills where you would crawl under your desk. Like, yeah, that's, a missile comes down, that's a nuclear weapon, and the desk is going to save you. It just was not true. So anyway, I think I'm going to terminate this. We will be streaming live on Sunday. Let me give you the schedule on that. During the usual hour that I do my prophecy update, we are having our church communion and we have a meal and that type of thing with it. So there will be no update at 11 p.m. I'm going to record and live stream the update at 8 a.m. Eastern time. That will be replayed at 11 a.m. if everything goes correctly. And also, I'll be doing the sermon first service that starts at 9:30. Usually starts live streaming about 9:45, and we'll be talking about the Last Supper, the institution of the Last Supper, and some of the things that it means. So that's update live streamed at 8 a.m. on Sunday. Hopefully, unless we have some technical issues, and given the way things are going today, I wouldn't be surprised that we would. And then the sermon at 9:45, and then we will replay, if we get it recorded, we'll replay live stream at the usual time, the prophecy update, and you can do the live chat and all of this. And somebody says, Dara, John, you are not negative but realistic, and we appreciate that. And I thank you for appreciating that. It's look, there's a lot of people in the world that are not doing things that are in our best interest. And we're always told in this scripture that we're not given the spirit of fear, but of power. And we're told to fear. Don't fear the person who can kill you. Don't fear the devil. The worst thing he can do is kill you, but fear God who can destroy both body and soul in hell. That's really how we need to do that. So keep looking up. Eventually Jesus comes back and cleans up this mess, and there'll be a millennial kingdom and all that thing. And we'll see what true righteousness and justice looks like. So appreciate you listening, and we'll talk to you again on Sunday. Thanks.